What is the best monitor for console? This is going to be a console monitor review guide and also a review of the BENQ GL2760, the monitor I got about 3 months ago. I'm going to point out the specifications you should look for to get the maximum performance out of a monitor on console. Go ahead and check the description out. I labeled everything by timestamp so you could just skip around to whatever you're interested in or parts that you're confused about when looking for a console monitor. I was going to do an unboxing for this video, but that being the first time I ever filmed a video, it didn't go over too well.
Yeah.
You can't talk in the video?
Oh.
Oh my gosh! So instead of that, I'm just going to jump straight into this and review the specifications you should look for. I'm going to play videos of how the monitor looks. I try to put a couple different games on here and stuff. One thing you want to keep in mind that though, this is a TN panel monitor, so that's the first thing we can talk about. The TN panel monitors are great for gaming as long as you're sitting directly in front of it. But if you're off to the side, sometimes the image will distort a little bit. So just keep that in mind when you see these videos. It might not be the perfect viewing angle for the monitor, so that it might look a little worse actually. You might see IPS or VN panel type monitors, which are going to have better viewing angles if you're watching movies from the side or you have multiple people looking at the monitor. Although the TN panel is going to be generally cheaper and it's going to have lower response time, so for a gamer sitting directly in front of their monitor, this is going to be suitable and more ideal in some cases. The most important thing to me is the refresh rate of the monitor. So how many frames per second are displaying on the monitor. For console, the max output for the console system is 60, so you want a monitor that could match that and maximize the frames that you're getting. So this monitor is 60 hertz or 60 frames a second, and when I'm playing some of the shooter games that I play, you could really tell it just feels like the game is performing faster and you're seeing more. So I really like that about this monitor. Next thing I was looking at was the response time. So this monitor has a 2 ms response time. That's 2 milliseconds. So response time is similar to frame rate, but they're different. So frame rate is the number of frames per second that the image is displayed, while the response time is a measurement for each pixel within that image, how quickly it generates to the color it's supposed to be. So with frame rate, you want a high number, while with the response time, you want a low number, so it's quickly getting to the color that it needs to be. If you have a high response time, it's taking a long time to generate that color that it's supposed to be. It's going to create what they call ghosting or blurry images, and it might not look as great. So I was looking for a low response time. For reference, I think gaming, if you have a television, you set on gaming mode, it's around 15 ms. I was playing on a really old TV, so it's probably a lot higher than that. I would look for anything around 5 ms. So I play a lot of Fortnite, and in that game, you're moving around quite a bit, building a lot, and I think the response time is really good. I haven't noticed any blurring or any ghosting effect while playing that game. So I think the input time on this monitor is great. So what size monitor should you pick? Most gamers game on pretty small monitors, 22, 24 inches. This is a 27-inch monitor. First, let me talk about why you pick a small monitor. So the first is just performance. On a smaller screen, it can project faster, generally faster for refresh rates. For me, if you're coming from a large big screen TV, like I was, you're actually moving your head back and forth to look across the screen. On a nice small monitor, you're really just moving your eyes and you could see things quicker. This is a 27-inch monitor, so most gamers would say that's pretty big, but I sit a little further back on my desk. I just really like the larger size monitor. I think that it just looks really good. So it's mainly personal preference, but get a monitor within the low to high 20 range. The last thing you're going to look for is the resolution of the monitor. So this is 1920 by 1080. So that's the dimensions of the number of pixels within the monitor that's displayed. So the higher that number, the more pixels within the monitor and the better the image looks. So I think 1920 by 1080 looks really good. Some say, for a 27-inch monitor or a larger monitor, you're going to want a higher resolution, more pixels, but that's going to be more expensive, and that also might sacrifice performance. So for what I'm looking for console performance, 1920, 1080. I'm very happy with it. I think it looks good, and more importantly, it performs well. So that kind of wraps up the specifications you want to look at when purchasing a monitor for a console for performance, and the highlights of why I picked this monitor. So next I'm just going to review some pros and cons of this monitor and talk more generally about it in case you're watching this and you're not really interested in gaming. So pros of this monitor is really all the features I mentioned earlier. I'm really happy with them. The monitor seems to be performing really well. I've really noticed a difference in my gameplay. Other than that, it's a really nice, clean looking monitor. On the desktop looks really good. Here you'll see these pictures I just displayed to kind of see the resolution and how good the monitor can look. Including a picture at the end here of the beach I just took with my cell phone, so it's not even super high quality. But one thing about this, it has a lot of settings, so you might have to play with the settings to get the picture that you like, but I like that it has the option to really get into the settings and customize it to your preference. So overall, I really like this monitor and I'm very happy with it. I don't really have any strong cons or problems with this monitor, but I'll just kind of talk about couple little things that maybe could be improved or might be a deal breaker for some other people. So maybe one of the complaints or cons I heard of that this monitor stands shaky, and I think that's true. So like you could see it's pretty wobbly, and sometimes when you hit the desk or tap the desk, it's going to wobble around. I don't find that to be a big problem at all, but it's just something that some people noted in some of the reviews. See the mount's just attached here. That's the cause of a little bit of the wobble. It does have I think, VESA mounting bracket here, so I think you can have some mounting options if you want to get a custom mount. So another con is that the input buttons are on the side here, so if you want to have dual monitors, one of them will have blocked inputs. Some people mentioned that they thought this monitor picture didn't look good and it looks kind of washed out. I was kind of agreeing with that, but like I mentioned earlier, the settings that you can play with, it really helps out with that. So for Fortnite, for example, it tends to look washed out to me, so I always really lower the brightness, but it's going to depend on the game. Like I think Red Dead looks really good on this, so I just want to briefly talk about the settings and kind of the abilities that they have. Here, I usually run on game mode. I further adjust the brightness. I like to bring the brightness actually down quite a bit. I don't like the extra eye strain that causes if you're going for a long game session. I run the contrast at 50 and the sharpness at 7. All right, so here's the photo mode. So just confirm that and then exit out. Let's see the difference. So a little bit probably darker and displaying the colors a little bit more vividly. So one major feature of this monitor is the blue light low light setting, which I really like, and that's one of the reasons I bought this too, because I work on my computer with this monitor and do a lot of work in Word and Excel. So in the menu, it's just right on the top. You could just go low blue light, and then you could pick the level that you want. I actually prefer the office reading the best, so confirm that. You could even further turn down the brightness if you want. And it gives it this more orange tint, a little bit easier to read, a little easier on the eyes over time if you're spending a lot of time on the computer. Just to go over the cords, get the power cord, headphone jack right here, HDMI. It's got the DVI-D and the D sub here. And I don't think this came with an HDMI cord, so I think that's the one I had on the PlayStation. So be aware of that if you're going to use it for console, that you need to have your cord for it. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, you can like and subscribe. I'll have some other gaming equipment reviews in the future. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them.